How's it going, Yankee fans? Welcome back to Fireside Yankees with your boys, Alex and Ryan. Today we're talking about Rizzo. What the hell happened there? Concussion out of nowhere. They suddenly realize he has symptoms, and this is 2 months following getting kneed in the head by Fernando Tatis Jr. against the Padres. Now, again, this was months ago. Apparently, Rizzo has been feeling some sort of symptoms throughout the last couple months in terms of fatigue, fogginess. He said verbatim, it feels like waking up hungover. And he thought it was just the grueling nature of the regular season. Maybe he was just tired. He was, the traveling, the exhausting nature of it all. And he just kind of got confused about what was what. And then he struck out 5 times against the Orioles. And he was like, yo, I can't see the ball. Like, it's moving a little bit more than it usually is. And then at that moment, he was like, okay, you know what? I'm feeling something a little bit off. Ended up playing anyway through it. Now the Yankees put him on the 10-day IL. Definitely kind of an eye-opener there. I feel like, he passed all the concussion protocols, but it was kind of like that Clint Frazier situation where he hit his head and long-term he started to get those symptoms down the line. Are you concerned about this? Because I feel like this may not go away anytime soon. He was playing through it and it is what it is at this point in time, but the fact of the matter is, who knows how long these symptoms will last? And obviously, it's hurt his performance drastically. At least we have a reason for it now. It's not like age or whatever it was hurting his performance. It was literally concussion symptoms. So, Ryan, what are you thinking about this right now? What is your reaction? Because it's kind of a crazy scenario unfolding.
Yeah, so, at first my initial reaction was this is remarkably irresponsible on the Yankees' end, but talking to some people who have had concussions in the past and, looking at people or looking at different situations when it comes to concussions, there are actual cases where you don't experience symptoms until a couple months after the fact. Now, I think it's irresponsible that he played the games that he reported fogginess on. I think that's definitely that should have been the green light to start getting treatment and kind of taking him out the lineup. And based on the struggles, I feel like there was an underlying thought across social media that something was wrong with Anthony Rizzo physically, especially since the downturn really it perfectly aligned with that collision with Tatis that took him out of the game that day. Ultimately, Alex, I feel like the Yankees are in a weird spot with Rizzo where, obviously you're in baseball, you have guaranteed contracts. So next year's contract's guaranteed. And as you mentioned, you don't really know how he's going to recover from this. He's an older guy, and the big thing here is you want him to recover, right? I think baseball's going to come second here, right? And I realize that, when we're talking, this is a baseball podcast, right? So, when I say baseball comes second, I understand that may rub people the wrong way, but we're talking about head trauma here. We're talking about brain damage here. We're talking about things that, are a lot more serious and a lot more consequential than just, can he see a curveball? It could affect him for the rest of his life. So, I think taking it slow with this is the right call. I don't think there's an overwhelming reason for him to be back with the team in the month of August, right? Obviously, we're going to evaluate this week to week. I'm a little bit nervous when it comes to trusting the Yankees with evaluation because of what happened with Trevino. I understand the lack of trust from the fans with the organization, considering, this is the second time they've been like, oh yeah, this player's fine. And then it turns out there's a really serious issue that most people on social media anticipated was already there. So, I understand from that perspective how frustrating this can be. I'm very frustrated. This is obviously a very frustrating thing. I imagine Rizzo's frustrated. I imagine there's a lot of people frustrated with the situation. Overall, at least the one thing is that the reason Anthony Rizzo struggled wasn't because he's declining. There was a real reason why he was struggling. And, when you're trying to make up or compensate for being hurt or playing hurt, sometimes you tweak your mechanics and those mechanical tweaks stick and they become bad habits. If you're throwing with a sore shoulder, you may do some things to try to curb the pain. And that may lead to inefficient delivery. I suspect that could be happening with someone like Severino, perhaps. Maybe he's just washed or whatever that may be. But Rizzo clearly was off. I think this only further explains it. And, now the Yankees are going to have to scramble to figure out their first base situation. Although, I imagine when we do discuss that, there are avenues they can take to fix that.
Yeah, look, right now, it's really unfortunate, and I think that's the primary thing to focus on right now. Rizzo wasn't playing bad because he got worse. He was playing bad because he was concussed, and that's a much different conversation. So, the negatives we were talking about with Rizzo a couple of weeks ago or even a couple of days ago, washed away immediately, and we're really happy to hear it. Hopefully he can return next year and be the normal Rizzo we're used to. Good defender, really good offensive piece. It can help us, keep going instead of having to figure out now what do you do at first base. In the meantime, Ryan, what do you do at first base? Jake Bauers, DJ LeMahieu. Those are your 2 supplements. Jake Bauers, Yesterday, and the day before playing first base is fine. Like I think he's played over 2,000 innings there, so it's not like he's a spring. He's ready to go. He can fill first base without any problems. DJ LeMahieu as well. Do you think they're going to kind of platoon the first base, like kind of right-handed batters, left-handed pitching, right-handed pitching, or do you think we're going to see a lot more Jake Bauers kind of playing first base and having IKF in left field, who's been red hot offensively as of late?
Yeah, so, personally speaking, I think that at first base, Jake Bauers versus right-handed pitching, like, that feels like a lock. He has a 122 WRC plus versus right-handed pitching. I expect him to hit better as the season carries on. I know that this sounds weird because he's already giving the Yankees more offense than they expected, but when you look at the expected stats, man, they're wonderful. And, one of the big things you oftentimes look at and say, all right, this is why a player is underperforming, are things like their launch angle sprays. Like Gary Sanchez is a great example I use for this, because this is a guy who really hammered the baseball and had great expected stats, but it just never really seemed to click. He never really seemed to have it all work out for him. Jake Bauers has a really high sweet spot percentage at 41.5%. The league average is 33.1%. This is in the upper echelon in that regard. He barrels baseballs at a 20.8% clip. His expected weighted on base average on contact is 516. That's ridiculous. His expected weighted on base average as a whole is 371. As a hitter, I think he's a really, really, really strong hitter versus right-handed pitching. I think he'll give the Yankees about a 120 to 125 WRC plus against right-handed pitching. Now you need to find the guy to complement him against lefties. I think you tweeted out the thing on Fireside Yankees, like, why is he starting against lefty? People freaked out on you. He is really bad against lefties, right? And in that game, he was out. Shane McClanahan had him baffled. Like, there was nothing Jake Bauers is going to be able to do against Shane McClanahan. You need to find someone who can handle that. You could put DJ LeMahieu there. I think that makes sense. DJ against lefties seems like a feasible matchup that you can see DJ winning. I know that he's played a little bit better as of late, hasn't necessarily been consistently great. His WRC plus in the season sits at 86, and obviously that's suboptimal, but against lefties, he's been playable. He's hitting 311, excuse me. He's hitting 239 with a 94 WRC plus. Not great, but it's better than what he does against righties. I would have liked to see Peraza come up and play some third while Bauers got reps at first. They didn't opt to do that. I think that's a little foolish, but that's neither here nor there. Overall, I think the Yankees might go external. Like, obviously, I've been seeing people talk about Luke Voit. The only drawback is that Voit doesn't really have great numbers against lefties. He's a lot better against righties than lefties, so that feels like that might be a weird fit. But overall, the Yankees at least have the strong side platoon figured out, because that's the really important thing here, making sure you have the guy versus right-handed pitching. It's a lot easier to find someone versus left-handed pitching. Although the fact that the Yankees knew that the fogginess was a thing before the deadline and still didn't acquire a first baseman, now that looks really bad, right? Like, now that looks terrible. And obviously, there were reports, was it Hal that told Cashman not to sell, whatever it may be. But if you knew you were in buy mode and Rizzo's experienced fogginess, I feel like getting a first baseman would have been the wise choice. And now you can't go externally. You can't look outside like minor league free agents and, whatever teams don't want in order to find some depth there. Chaparro's the guy people have brought up. He's also got better numbers against righties than lefties, so I don't know how that would work. Cordero's obviously a lefty. That won't work. Cabrera hasn't hit. That's not really going to work. So I'm not sure what they're going to do with the weak side platoon. They might just have to live with Jake Bauers or just throw LeMahieu out there.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, look, right now, it's kind of a problem. We'll see how it goes. The Yankees have won 2 straight games, so there's a positive to be had. And, Astros are very good, so we'll see if we can continue that hot streak right now. And, Volpe's looking good. Stanton's back-to-back home runs in consecutive games. Even Billy McKinney got on the board yesterday. I mean, Judge is still getting on base. You're seeing these guys starting to creep toward competent. I'm not going to go that far just yet. We have a long way to go. We're 2.5 games out of the wild card spot, and the Astros have one of those slots. But it really comes down to pitching at the same time. Like, our offense has been a lot better the last 2 days, but, I don't even know who's starting tonight. Is Severino starting tonight, right? I mean, he's been bad. Like awful. Not even bad, awful, freaking disgusting. He's got to put it together. Like, at some point, if Severy puts it together, we're going to be okay. But right now, we just don't know. It's too early to tell. He's got to really string together some good performances still. And then you got Nestor Cortez back. I mean, look, the Yankees, you're seeing flashes of what they're capable of. They went through probably one of the coldest streaks I've seen in my lifetime for this team with this much talent, this much money invested. They didn't make any moves. And you know what? I think Cashman not making any moves and Boone was like, look, guys, we're not going to do anything big. it's up to you. Like, you guys are talented enough. You guys are good enough. It's just about, being the best version of yourselves. Whatever happened, maybe it motivated them. The Domingo Herman thing, or getting new details coming out, like, that was a really scary situation. He smashed a television in the clubhouse, and he flipped a couch, and, he yelled at Aaron Boone and ripped apart Garrett Cole. And, like, I don't know what the hell is going on. This season feels cursed, but maybe there's light at the end of the tunnel. Maybe these guys can turn it around, but it's definitely, we still have a long way to go. But we remain hopeful as ever optimistic fans. But guys, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on the first base position. What they should do there. Jake Bowers, DJ LeMahieu. Thoughts on Rizzo. There's a lot going on, but always happy to hear your perspectives. As always, make sure to like and subscribe. And we'll catch you guys on the next Fireside Yankees episode.